Welcome, everybody. Paul Burkhardt here, PB, week 59 of PB Sports Talk. I say it every week. I can't believe it. I don't know where the weeks are going. They keep flying by. We just had 50, and now we're knocking on 60. So this is crazy. Good to be with you guys again. I'm going to kind of go slow here for the first minute or so, minute and a half, 2 minutes, let some people get in here. Expecting a pretty good crowd tonight. At least some people have confirmed with me, and we've got our regulars that join us every week. So looking forward to those hopping in here in just a moment. This is relatively new for us on Friday nights. I think this is the fifth in a row. Originally, when we first started 60 weeks ago, 59 weeks ago, we started out on, Wednesday nights at 6 o'clock. We did that only for about 3-4 weeks, and then it was 10 a.m. on Saturday mornings for all the way up until about week 54 or 55, somewhere right in there. And now we've been on Friday nights. It does pretty well. And when we get some people in here, I'm actually going to ask that question if everyone prefers it on a Friday or on a Saturday, or is there a different night? So I'm going to give it another minute here. I'm going to kind of stay quiet, just get a few things arranged here while we give it a minute or so for people to come on in. Welcome to the show. I'm giving it just a minute or so here and letting some people get in before I really get started. All right. So that's a couple minutes now. I'm going to get started again. Week 59. Welcome to the show. For those of you who are here now, thank you for joining. Many more will pop in here as we go. And really, it's probably thousands now at this point on reels and shorts and different things that we do when we cut up the show after the fact over the next week or two. So thank you so much for viewing our content, tonight. And then later on down the road, what's going on, Adam? Oh, reliable Adam. He says, week 59, let's get it, PB. So, yes, thousands of people generally see the cuts and reels and clips on future dates. So if you're seeing this at a later date, in the next week, 2 weeks, whatnot, really thank you for your support. And we're going to keep plugging away. So I'm rolling solo again tonight. Luke is still on the longest PTO break in history as my co-host. Look, I miss him, man. He's been out for about 5-6 weeks. His life sometimes throws a curveball, and he has one right now. And he's been in and out of town in Michigan a couple of different times. Once in Ohio, once in Indiana, and the times have just gotten screwed up. And lots of people joining now. Welcome to the show, everybody. Week 59 of PB Sports Talk. That went up pretty quick. Thank you for joining. Yeah, so rolling solo tonight, and I'm going to give you everything I got, just me, myself, and I. And I'm hoping, fingers crossed, that we can get Luke back here next week. I still haven't gotten his take on Sauce Gardner. Again, Luke played against Aiden Hutchinson, Dante Moore, Sauce Gardner, what's his name? Ryan Hollins from the Milwaukee Bucks. My co-host was a very talented high school player, and I still have not gotten his thoughts on Sauce Gardner's trade from the Jets to Indianapolis. Real quick, my take on that, he's not that good. It's a whole bunch ado about not very much. And if I was the Jets, I'd be pretty happy to get rid of that salary, $30 million a year. I think he's got $30 million over 4 years, $120 million. Indianapolis, you can have him. It upgrades your team, but he isn't that great. He's somehow, some way, that guy has ridden a roller coaster of hype, and good for him, I guess. If you can do enough to get that amount of money, good for you. So on the show tonight, lots to cover. I'm going to spend a good amount of time here on what is, for sure, in my opinion, it's not just because I'm a Lions fan, but it's the biggest game of the week, Sunday Night Football, Lions versus the Eagles. All of us Detroit fans, we've been waiting for this for quite some time. I'll get into that. You can see right on the screen there the race for first in the NFC. Eagles 7-2, Lions right behind them at 6-3, Seahawks at 7-2, Bucks at 6-3, Rams at 7-2. So it's a tight bunch, and this is kind of separation Sunday. We'll call it. I'll have the picks later on for sure. Man, Buffalo and Tampa Bay, something's got to give there. So Tampa's got their hands full. Is Buffalo going to lay an egg again? We'll see. I'll get to that. And Jason, if you're watching, man, you needed me today. And I know if you are watching, Jason, or even Luke, I could swear Jason was 0-5 last week, and I was 3-2 because the 2 games I lost we agreed on, and we disagreed on 3. That would make me 3-2 and Jason 0-5. But I haven't actually looked at the paperwork from last week. That was just off the top of my head. So hopefully I can join you again next week, Jason, for the Fearless 5. That's Jason Whitlock I'm talking about, everybody. And speaking of Jason, I appear on his show a lot. And Luke, if you're watching, Luke's a great director for Jason Whitlock's Fearless show. Follow Jason at Real Jason Whitlock on YouTube. Please subscribe to his channel, not just because I'm on it every now and again, but it's a great show. And Jason does a great job of challenging you to think and to consider a different perspective in a number of different ways. In fact, I had a conversation with him privately the other day, and after my conversation with him, it really shifted my thinking. So he's very talented that way. Not that he's like there to change your mind, but just a different perspective for you to consider. So support Jason Whitlock and the Fearless Show and the great team behind the scenes that doesn't get to be front and center and get seen like the guests and like Jason. They do a fantastic job, and they're a joy to work with. So thank you, guys. All right, so we're going to cover obviously the Lions and Eagles, as I said. The show topics, I'm going to talk about Nico Harrison, which I'm very passionate about, LeBron James, and what we're on the cusp of. I'm very, very passionate about that. Tarek Skubal of the Tigers and back-to-back Cy Young Award winner, and what is now on the table, essentially, with the most aggressive agent in the history of sports, in my opinion. Scott Boras has the rights to Tarek and the negotiation rights. So, hey, what's up, 1224? Welcome. Another loyal follower. Always there, you guys. Thank you. And then ESPN, and I've spoken a lot about this. I mean, I put a reel up this morning. It's got thousands of views now already. It's a sore subject for a lot of people. And I'm going to talk a little bit more in detail about it tonight, and just where I think, I've talked about Amazon and Netflix, and I'll recap that briefly, and what I think is coming. I do think a takeover is coming. I think it is inevitable. I think it's almost no way it can't happen. It's not if, it's just more of when. And ESPN keeps on digging the hole and making it more likely that it's going to happen. I'm going to get into some of the inner workings, in my opinion, of some of the inner workings that are driving the show into the ground. Everybody knows about the woke stuff. Everybody knows not many people like Stephen A. He's just a big mouth in his politics and stuff. But I have a little bit of a different angle and some further thoughts about what happened to Sage Steele and Samantha Ponder when they were there and then were no longer there, as well as Week 11's picks and maybe a surprise or two. All right, so for the PB for 3, I want to talk about A.J. Brown for just a moment. And it's very relative to this week. I'm going to take this off the screen here. It's very relative to this week because the Lions play Philly on Sunday night, of course. And I took some notes down the other day, and not because he came out and said what he said the other day. That isn't even why I'm saying this. I've thought this for quite some time, that he's not even the best wide receiver on his own team. I mean, I've thought that Sage Steele is the most rational and likable woman in sports media by far. There's some good ones. There are still some good ones, but she's definitely up there, and miss her. I mean, I haven't watched the show. I haven't watched SportsCenter since before she left, if I'm being honest, but I agree with you there. A.J. Brown, I would rather have Devontae Smith as my number 1. That's my own personal opinion. I think he's more versatile. I think he can do more things. I think he's more, he's more like he can take, AJ Brown is talented. I'm not going to sit here and say the man's not talented and he can't do some things and that he hasn't put up some numbers over his career. Not even going to try to suggest that's not the case, because it is. But Devontae Smith, to me, is a more dangerous wide receiver, can run more routes on the route tree, is so versatile in and out of cuts. He's much quicker than AJ Brown. And I mean, he's not as big as him and as physical as him. There's no question about that. And so that part of it, if AJ's got to go up for a 50-50 ball against a big corner, he can fight through it and he can pull down the catch. But, he keeps talking. And I wrote some numbers down, and they actually, I kind of thought them, but when I wrote them down, they kind of surprised me. So listen to this. And he's 8 games played versus Devontae's 9. All right, they're 7-2. So let's be fair. He's played 1 less game. 31 receptions, 408 yards, and 3 touchdowns. That's AJ Brown. Devontae, 9 games, 48 receptions. So 17 more receptions. 1 more game played, 17 more receptions, 48 receptions, 657 yards. So 259 yards more, same amount of touchdowns, 3. Neither one of those numbers are very good. 3 touchdowns for your number 1 and number 2 wide receiver is not great. And that's probably more indicative on the fact that Barkley's in the backfield and Jalen Hurts is not your lighted up type of quarterback. And then I'll get to who is really the touchdown maker there, other than Barkley, is Dallas Goedert, who I think is a terrific tight end. And he's a very important target for Jalen Hurts. 31 catches. So the same as A.J. Brown. 31 receptions, 332 yards, 7 touchdowns. So Goedert has more touchdowns himself than Devontae and A.J. combined. And I don't have the total games that Goedert has played this year, but I think he missed at least 1. And he still has more than both guys combined together. So A.J. Brown and this talk, we've seen him reading a book on the side. He's talking about the offense, which was 10-7 against Green Bay on, what was that, Monday night, that we didn't get to see if you have YouTube. Philly has the 12th ranked offense in terms of points in the NFL, 24.2 points. And I'll get into it in a little while about where the Lions are. So he's frustrated, and they as a team, I think, are a little bit frustrated. 24.2 points. If you're 7-2, you're doing some things at 7-2 to give yourself, the upper hand in a lot of those games. You're certainly not blowing people out. At 24.2 a game, you're not blowing people out. Obviously, you beat the Packers 10-7, 0-0 at halftime. And I tweeted this during the game. It's like that was more to do about horrible offense by both teams than it was great defense. Micah Parsons would disagree and said, "Can't you focus?" I forget who. Colin Cowherd. Colin Cowherd's been in everybody's shirts over the last week. I don't know what's gotten into that guy. He's not even making sense on a lot of what he says. And he's one of the few guys that I've respected. I don't know if he's just trying to get clicks or what he's trying to do, but Colin Cowherd has just been, he has been way off base. So A.J. Brown, in my opinion, he says, it's team. I'm for the team. I'm a team guy. I'm not saying he's not a team guy, but what I am saying is he's not getting his. And he doesn't like that. And he doesn't like what I just read to you. Saquon Barkley is the focus. Everything in the offense goes through Saquon Barkley first. If you start to take away Barkley, or you are going to diversify your offense and you're going to start putting the ball in the air, AJ is not the guy. There's a lot of games where you'll see he might have 1 target, 2 targets at halftime. And that's not really coverage, in my opinion. I don't study the film like that, where I break it down and where coverage is rolling all the time. I do that with the Lions because I'm so close with them, but or that's my home team. But I truly believe they just don't feed him the ball. And Hurts is going in other places. And I think Devontae's more versatile. I think Goddard's more versatile. I think even Saquon is more versatile out of the backfield. And so he's kind of finishing lower on the totem pole. And I think that's what's triggering him. Of course, 12th in the league, that's not good. And there's a hollowness. And there might be some Eagle fans watching. There's some hollowness and almost some illegitimacy to Philadelphia's 7-2 record. There's something that doesn't feel right about it. And I think he knows that, to be honest with you. Based on his comments, we better figure this out, is what he was saying. And I'm going to get to Sunday night's game, but I think we're about to see him get even more frustrated. And I'll explain why in just a minute. So that's my take on A.J. Brown. He's not getting his targets. He's not happy about that. But I don't necessarily blame Jalen Hurts or Philadelphia for getting more targets to Goddard and more targets to Devontae, and obviously using Saquon in the passing game. So that was just something I wanted to get out on the PB for 3 segment. So let's dive into the actual game itself. 7 o'clock. No, that's pregame. 8:15 or whatever the kick is Sunday night. I say this a lot, and I try not to say it all the time because it's often overused. This is a huge game. This is a really big game for both teams, but I'll be honest with you, this is a bigger game for the Lions. And not just because one team is 7-2 and one 6-3, and you trail them in the overall NFC conference standings. It's big because, and I don't like this phrase, signature win. This is being used a lot in Detroit. We need a signature win. We need a signature. We've had plenty of signature wins over the last couple of years. There are many. I don't really view it as a signature win. I just view it as you're playing a team that is equal to you or better than you in the record. You're on the road. They are the defending champs. Call it a signature win if you want. But it's an important game that I believe that you must have. After the Lions laid an egg a couple of weeks ago and then rebounded aggressively and just blew the doors off the Commanders last week, you can't go to Philly and lose. I don't care if it's by 1 or 100. You can't lose this game. I personally don't think they're going to lose this game. I want to stop for a moment. And for those of you who are not from Detroit, this is really important to hear. If you're not from Detroit, you've heard about this. And you've heard that he meaning Dan Campbell, took the play calling duties away from John Morton. John Morton replaced Ben Johnson when he left to go to Chicago. John Morton used to be on the Lions 2 years, not last year, the year before. He was with the Lions and sometime before that too. And then he left before last year. He went to Denver. And then after Ben Johnson left, Campbell brought him back. There was familiarity there. There was it's important to say that there was familiarity to John Morton and John Morton with the team. And I think Campbell trusted him. And, Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell have a very specific ideology or criteria. Right people, right fit, right price. The price part is more on the players. It has to fit those three criteria, and the coaches are very much the same. He's looking for character people, strong-willed, minded people. He's looking for good communicators. He's looking for guys that are all in it to win it. I mean, he has done a marvelous job of putting together a team. If you don't know, this is now 5 years ago. In the very first year, Anthony Lynn, former head coach, was with the Chargers and other teams. He was the offensive coordinator. And roughly about midseason, Dan Campbell took the play calling duties away from Anthony Lynn and took him over for the rest of the year. And Anthony Lynn was not happy about that. You spend a lot of years in the league. You earn your keep. You earn your name. You earned the right to get that spot. And then it was deemed basically that you just weren't cutting it. And he took the play calling away. And a lot of people think this is Ben Johnson's offense. A lot of people think that the creativity and all the things you've seen over the last few years was Ben Johnson. And then Ben Johnson left, so all that left with him. There could be nothing further from the truth. Dan Campbell is the inventor of all of those things. The aggressive fourth down conversions, a lot of the creativity. In fact, the majority of the creativity is him. And then he found a good partner in Ben Johnson who learned under him, and he spoke about that in the press conference. And if I had to guess, Ben Johnson's probably not super happy about that, but he said it, that Ben Johnson learned under me, and when I felt comfortable, I turned it over to Ben, and Ben got so good at it and added to it that I didn't even need to pay attention. He knew what I wanted, and he built on it. And that's having been a business owner, man, you dream of that. And I've had like two people of the hundreds I've employed. I had two people that were in my head. They knew my every move, and they knew my every thought, and they knew what I was thinking, sometimes even before I thought it. When you find somebody like that, you can't lose them. No matter what, you figure out a way to. I mean, it's different in the coaching world, right? They want to go for a head coaching spot. You can't really let that hold. You don't want to hold them back, from their career. But in like the real, and the same thing goes for, regular daily work and stuff. But you get a good employee like that, you get a good teammate like that, man, you don't let them go. If you are involved in that, man, keep that person for as long as you can. Do everything you can to keep it right. So that was Ben Johnson for him. And Morton got the play calling duties this year. Hasn't worked out. And Campbell's not very content or satisfied with what's going on with the offense. So last week he took the play calling over in the Washington game. Here's what I think, though. I think that was a tune-up. Everybody knows Jaden Daniels is out. Washington's got a lot of injuries. They're kind of like on the downslope right now. They got to figure some things out. Terry McLaurin out. And so that was a victory waiting to happen. It was the Lions game to lose. There was basically no way they would lose that game unless they handed it away. It was just a matter of how much they would lose by. 44-22, it was never in doubt. But I think this gave Dan Campbell an opportunity to kind of give himself a little bit of a tune-up. He's got his reading glasses on like me. He always has the sheet in his hand, and it's buckled to his waistline, to his belt loop. But we saw it in his hands. We saw the glasses on, and we were like, oh, boy. And then the reporters from the sidelines, they brought that up during the game and said, it appears that he's taken over the play calling, and then it was confirmed. That was to prepare. In my opinion, that was to do what you needed to do there, but that was to prepare for this Sunday night. On the road, at Philly, raucous crowd, some of the craziest fans in the world. And he wanted his team hitting on all cylinders. Let me tell you why this is so important. Not only did you just score 44 points, not only are you second in the league in points per game at 31.4 versus Philadelphia's 24.2, 24.2. You're 7.2 points per game on average, the Lions over Philly. Okay? Give them a chance, kick off the rust, and go out and just open a can. And personally, I think they're going to. See, the Lions are a very, very, very disciplined team. And I don't believe that Philly can beat them over the top. Some teams, it's concerning right now. DJ Reed, and he's questionable, likely not going to play. There's some deficiencies on the back end still. So a team that has the ability to go over the top, like a Kansas City as an example, they got threats at every position. Not that Philadelphia doesn't have threats, but it's just a different type of scheme, a different type of offense. And so what I think the Lions, I don't think Philadelphia is going to be able to stop the Lions. Not much anyways. And I think the Lions are going to put up about 38 points in this game. And I don't think Philadelphia is going to be able to keep pace with that. And I think Dan Campbell knows that. Most of the time, if the Lions win the toss, they defer to the second half. I have a feeling if they win the toss, he's going to take the ball. And he's going to want to go right down the field, open up 7-0. And then you take the initiative and you put your stamp on it. And then you're basically telling Philadelphia, go ahead, try to run the ball. And anybody who knows the Lions well enough knows that they have great run fit linebackers. Solid up the middle now with Aleem McNeil back. And then at the second level, really solid run fit guys. So, hey, Barkley's good enough where he can take 180, but they're going to be disciplined in their lanes. They're going to be disciplined to assignment. And I believe that was all a strategic plan to get Campbell to get in, kick the rust off, inject the team with massive confidence. And Goff was coming off the field or at some point in the game says, good job, good job, good job. You can listen to Jameson Williams after the game. Dude was like on a cloud 9. I think he had, I don't have it in front of me, so please don't quote me. I think 7 for 127. It's what we've been waiting for. And it's the formations that Campbell's calling and Goff is staying in or audibling out of. And they were utilizing their weapons. So it wasn't St. Brown as the number one option. But you have options all over the field. You've got St. Brown, you got William, J-Mo, you've got Laporta, you got Khalif Raymond or Tesla in the slot, and you got a dual-headed running back monster and Jahmyr Gibbs, who went berserk, and Derek Montgomery, if you want a more physical, punch it down their throat type of guy, he can do that. Plus, he's very good out of the backfield as well. The offensive line continuity has kind of come together, and then Goff has been terrific. So Philly has their hands more than full. I mean, absolutely loaded. I've got the Lions winning this game 38-28. That's a lot of points. I understand. That's 66 points. I don't have the over-under in front of me. I'll have the line here in a moment, but I don't think these I don't have the over-unders on that. Somebody can tell me that. But Philly minus 2.5. Thank you. Take that. 3-point standard line, but that's just there's no way that should be in my opinion. But the over-under is probably about 51, I would guess, and I think they sail right past that. Philly's not going to have an answer. There are certain games that are important for two teams, but one is more of a must-win than the other. And when the Lions played KC not long ago, it was a must-win for both teams, but it was more of a must-win for Kansas City. And in this one, it's more of a must-win for the Lions than it is for Philadelphia. Lions win, Philly loses. You're both 7-3. It's not like insurmountable for Philly. The Lions lose and go to 6-4. They're going to fall down the tree quite a bit. It doesn't mean your season's over. In terms of seeding, your chances of getting a phenomenal seed are less, and they still have a very difficult schedule. Third overall, the most difficult schedule to start the year, and you still have some very tough teams to beat and tough places to beat them. And so the Lions, I think, know they got to get this. I think Campbell knew he had to do the play calling change when he did. He wasn't going to do it, let Morton go for Washington and then start in the Philly. When I say let Morton go, I don't mean he let him go off the team. Let him relieve him of the play calling duties for now. Let him watch more. Let him learn more. Let him get more in Campbell's head exactly what he wants. Campbell's left the door open for him to be a possible play caller again. But that was all by design, in my opinion. He's not going to say that. They're not going to say that. That's my own personal feeling. And instinctually, as a former coach, even though it was basketball, these are the reasons you do these things. And we teach, it's always the game in hand. You're never looking ahead. But to be honest with you, we are looking. We understand, in the NFL, in the NFL, it's quarters. It's 17 games now instead of 16. Used to be 4 fours. Now it's 4, 4, 4, and 5. They know what's coming. He knew that Philly was coming. He knew what Washington was capable of and what they're not. And he knows he was going on the road. Second, by the way, back-to-back. Washington on the road, Philly on the road. That's why he did that. And now the team's jacked up. Confidence, sky high. Campbell's own confidence, sky high. Everybody's pulling in the same direction. We're coming for the NFC lead. I think that is the mentality. Let's take a peek at this again. And this is, you see, Seahawks are 7-2, but in terms of conference standings, they're in third place. So the Lions win this. There should be it should be the Lions would go to 1 because you'd be 7-2, but you have the head-to-head game there. That's a really good 5, man. That's impressive. You know, and there's a lot of strength in the AFC. There's no question about it. I still believe that. But that's an impressive 5. And the Rams at 5 at 7-2, and we've talked about Stafford a lot. 24 touchdowns. Is it 1 or 2 interceptions? MVP candidate. Look at this. You got the Seahawks and Sam Darnold. You can make an argument is an MVP candidate. Matthew Stafford, you make an argument that is an MVP candidate. That's solid. So the Lions want to go to 7-3 here and hold their own with what's coming up. So should be an awesome game. Thankfully, it's not in ESPN because I have YouTube TV. I already did a free trial on Fubo the first week of that, and I'll get into the ESPN debacle here in a moment, in a few. But thankfully, that's on NBC. All right, Nico Harrison and the Dallas Mavericks. I'm not going to get into this too much. Those of you guys who follow me, and I still have to repeat some of it because not everybody follows like you guys. Here's what I'm going to say, and I get a lot of hate for this. A whole lot of hate. You can see on my X at PB Sports Talks with an S on it, and on YouTube at PB Sports Talk, you'll see a number of different videos about the Mavericks, LeBron James, Luka Doncic, the whole thing when the trade went down, after the trade, at the end of the season, during the off season, and now more recently with what has happened. Here, ready? I never thought it was a bad idea to trade Luka Doncic. I actually felt like it was the right move to trade Luka Doncic. Hey, what's up, Zach? Welcome to the show, buddy. What I didn't totally agree with was who they offered him to and what they got in return, but I'll get to why I believe it was the Lakers all along. So Nico Harrison just got fired. Apparently he's stepping away and he's kind of going into isolation. And the reason is it's been a hard time for him. You know, these people have basically threatened him, threatened his life, threatened his family's life. And, you know, it's really gotten out of hand. And I'm not going to get into all the political stuff. As this is not I have a lot of thoughts on that, but this is not the place for that. But man, you start threatening people's lives and you start threatening people's families and children and all kinds of stuff because you disagreed with a trade or you disagreed because somebody didn't get your prop bet. Listen, if and I've done it too in my life. If you don't want to lose a prop bet, then don't freaking bet. All right, don't put it on the guy. Seriously, or the team. Or like, let's say you had the Dallas Mavericks in some futures bet, and I haven't heard this talked about. It actually just popped in my mind right now. If you had, Dallas in some futures bet, and suddenly he was no longer on the team, well, that screwed up your bet. Well, you know, these things can happen. If you have the Lakers in a future bet, and I almost said a word I didn't want to say, like I was going to call him jerky something I was going to call him. If he comes back next week and he puts the Lakers jersey back on, he's going to mess that whole thing up. So if you have the Lakers on some sort of future bet and Clown is coming back to the roster and this thing goes upside down, which I think it will, don't threaten the guy. Don't threaten Rob Pelinka. Don't threaten Jeannie Buss or Mark Walters, the owner, Mark Walter, the owner, the majority owner of the Lakers, or JJ Redick. You know it's a possibility, so don't bet on it if you can't handle it. But Nico Harrison, I didn't disagree with the trade, and here's why. I think everybody saw it. He was heavily overweight. He was an absolute whiner every single game, most all game long. By all accounts, he was a heavy drinker and at least a smoker. I won't say heavy smoker, but a smoker. He was not exhibiting leadership in any way, shape, or form. He was a one-dimensional player, not a two-way player. Yeah, I don't think so. I bet Nico gets a job in the Lakers front office. Yeah, that's not happening. I don't think that's happening. That's a nice, funny line though, Zach. And he was about to be up for a Supermax deal at 5 years and $345 million for rough math of about $70 million a year. That was right around the corner. Also right around the corner was an option for Luka to opt out. And then you would lose him for nothing. Okay? Or payday comes, you have to give him all that money. And I think, and by the way, it wasn't only, and I know Charles Barkley said this, it's true. Nico Harrison did not make that move without the blessing of Patrick Dumont. 100%. And that's for every company. A primary employee, an executive of some sort, an all-star, a future Hall of Famer in the sports context. You do not trade somebody like that or mess up any apple cart without first sitting down with ownership and explaining the reasoning behind your idea. One way, it doesn't matter which way it has to do with. You are not trading that guy to anyone without first talking to your superiors, whoever that may be. General manager, president of basketball operations, or not general manager, he is the general manager, president of basketball operations, a managing partner, a majority owner, or all of the above. So Patrick Dumont knew about this. Nico Harrison was the face of this. And the fans went ballistic, absolutely ballistic, and they didn't let up. And they started booing at the games, and the chants are going on, and you have Cooper Flagg now, and it's like it's a new era. They're trying to move on. They can't even move on. So what do? You fire the guy, because that's suddenly going to make it all go away. Okay, Nico Harrison's gone now. You've got Kyrie Irving on the shelf. You've got Anthony Davis on the shelf. You've got Cooper Flagg, who's 18 years old, and he's adjusting to losing now, which he's basically never done in his life. Very, very, very little. And you're losing more games now than you are winning. It's an adjustment, not to mention NBA life is an adjustment, not to mention all the eyeballs and all the pressure that he has. And now he probably feels more pressure to perform. Jason Kidd, I like him as a coach. Don't put him at point guard right now. Let him develop. Don't put him in. I understand the concept, and I do believe there's a place for that when the time is right. Starting the season off is not right. You're asking the guy to play a position he's basically never played except for recreational or AAU ball. He wasn't playing it at the college level. And I know the college level was short-lived, but, at that level, he's not playing that. So ease it in situationally. Maybe you want to get somebody in foul trouble. Maybe you have a size mismatch. Maybe it's the second tier or second string guy that's got a D up on him because it's a certain situational type time in the game, and you want him to back him down or something or whatever, just to change the motion of the game. But don't start that. So you have all of this going on, and firing Nico Harrison is going to change things when Nico Harrison didn't even have Kyrie Irving, Anthony Davis, Cooper Flagg, PJ Washington, all the guys on the team playing as one. Like, what's the point? I get it. It was like you're scarred so bad. I get it to that degree, and the fans won't stop. And it's kind of affecting you and your brand in every single way. But removing him is not going to change. It's not really, you might not hear the chance, but it's not going to change. And now Dumont will become the next bad guy. And if they don't figure it out, and if they trade Anthony Davis, then they're going to say, okay, so you traded Luka Doncic. You got Anthony Davis and Max Christie, and then you traded broken down old Anthony Davis and got nothing in return. So you traded a Hall of Famer for nobody? It's not going to stop. They have their minds made up. It was not the wrong idea to trade him. I said this the other day. You cannot, I don't have one here. Yeah, I do actually. You can't take an eraser and erase everything that Luka was then and act like what he is now, 31, 32 pounds less. He looks healthier, not just thinner. He looks healthier. He looks more mature. When I say looks, acts. He's acting more mature. His game is evolving and improving, at least on the one end. because his body's allowing him to do more things. Go ahead, anybody. Take 32 pounds off your body. I don't know what your age is. I know I'm 53. If I take 30 pounds off my body, I'm just going to feel different. I'm going to have a different level of confidence. I'm going to be able to move better. I'm going to have less pain. I'm going to have, okay, Zach, we'll have to disagree. Zach says it was 100% the wrong move. You cannot invest $250 million into somebody that you knew at the time could not be the face of your franchise. There was things about him that could pop off at any second. And you can see the highlight from when they went to the finals. He had a beer ripped out of his hand. And it wasn't Nico Harrison. I misspoke the other day. It wasn't Nico Harrison. It was somebody else. Took the beer out of his hands. Why do you think that was? Because they know we know a little bit, but they knew everything behind the scenes. And some of the stuff that leaked out is he was out late drinking crazy. I don't care what business you're in. You want to hire somebody key? You can't have them doing those types of things and invest everything in it. If you're a fanatic, fan for short, then you think of things that way. But if you have to take your money and you have to invest it into something, and you have to think about the whole team, the now, the future, the present, the future, the badge of the NBA, the brand of your league, everybody in your building, you can't give $250 million in guaranteed money. I mean, I suppose there could be some show cause. And if certain things are stipulated, or probably would have been stipulated into that contract because of some of the known vices that he had, and the technicals and suspensions and all of this type of stuff, can't have it. You can't have it. You can't have it in business and standard everyday business with 10 employees, 20 employees, 50, 100, 200, 500. And you can't have it on a $10 billion franchise, $8 billion, $6 billion, whatever it's worth, and you're going to give the guy $250 million. You can't do it. So from that standpoint, and everybody knows this by now, if you follow me, I do a lot of work on giving the back business side of why teams and coaches do what they do. Adam and Zach, it's okay. Worst trade of all time, so hyperbolic. I hope you're hearing what I'm saying, though, guys. $250 million. You saw that he was not committed. How do we know that he wasn't committed? Because of everything we heard and saw. But then you see the Lakers take him. JJ Redick said at the end of the year, we need to get better conditioned as a team. Who do you think he was talking to? So suddenly the guy, all of a sudden, something snaps and he goes and loses 32 pounds. He wasn't doing that with Dallas. He would lose like 5-6 pounds. It was like this joke. And then he would revert back, right back. Now it appears that his whole life has been shaken up. Maybe he was humbled. Maybe it's I'm going to show you, whatever it is. Maybe it motivated him. I get to be the man in LA. LeBron's on his way out, this whole nine. It could have been a couple of contributing things to it, but he wasn't doing what he's doing now. He was not doing for the Mavericks. When I say not doing the things, what he needed to do to conduct himself as a professional athlete, and it goes way beyond the statistical columns, guys. Oh, I'm sorry, Adam. The Luka trade, he says, I'm agreeing with you. The Luka trade was and still is a massive overreaction. Worst trade of all time. So hyperbolic. Okay. I misread the context of that. My bad. Like, I understand why the Mavericks were upset. If you're looking at it not the Mavericks, but the Mavericks fans, why you would be upset about that from a fan perspective. I do understand that. 28, 7-7, 28, basically a walking triple-double. I get it. Guy can go off for 40, 50 on any given night. He's fun to watch, all of this type of thing. And you weren't winning before you had him. So it had been some time. So I get it. You got used to winning. Oh, we went to the finals. And so that automatically meant that the next year you were going to go to the finals? No, it didn't mean that. You don't go to the finals every year as a guarantee. So a lot of partying, a lot of doing the wrong things, and it was showing through in his emotions, in his actions, in his play, and that's only what we see. I can't even imagine what they knew behind the scenes, that with cameras everywhere, right next to his father in the locker room. They pulled a beer right out of his hands. That goes to tell you right there how bad that must be. So to Nico Harrison, man, I feel for you. To the Lakers, I disagreed with the trade at the time from a Lakers perspective, but they reached him, it appears. They reached him. They had the sit down. They rolled the red carpet out. They said, hey, we're going to max you. He stands to lose, I think, $116 million. If he maxes with the Lakers, he has to go longer to then be able to make up that money to get back to a supermax because of his tenure. So he loses. But what I think will end up happening is if he stays like he is now and he continues to walk that line, he'll make up for it in spades. And I guess if you're making 200 and I don't know, 200 million, 220 million. Hey, Zeus, welcome back, buddy. Good to see you, buddy. Another regular supporter. Good to see you, Jesus. If you have 300 million or you have 210 million or 340 million and you have 240 million, I think he'll be okay. At least you hope he'll be okay. So I feel for Nico Harrison. And now I'm going to tell you why I feel for Luka Doncic and why I feel for Austin Reeves. And there's people on here I know that have not watched me before. If you go on my YouTube, you will see a reel and you'll see a long video of 20 minutes and you'll see a reel that talks about, I believed at the time that Austin, this is after the Luka trade. So you've got the three, LeBron, Luka, and Austin Reeves. And I said, again, at the time, before the weight loss, right at the end of the year or just before the end of the year, trade Luka to the highest bidder, politely ask LeBron to walk away, build your team around Austin Reeves, that he's been slept on. And I said in the video that Austin Reeves is a 28-8 guy or 28-7-7, and he can go off for 35-40. I said that in the video, and it's June 25th that sticks in my head. And what did he do? He had a 50-piece, a 40-piece. The guy is a terrific player. He's a superstar. He didn't have the chance with LeBron there and with Luka there. He's like third fiddle, but it's down the line because LeBron is ball dominant and Luka is ball dominant. And Austin is just like he's just kind of there. So it appears that in the next week or so, and I'm still going to hold out that my prediction will be right, that he will never wear a Lakers uniform again. When I say he, LeBron. And if he does, it will be for a very short time. That is what I went out and said a few weeks ago. If I am a Los Angeles Laker fan, which I'm not, but if I was, I would be so upset right now. Now, they got their asses handed to them the other night. They got beat by 30-something, I think it was. I mean, I think that was a one-off. I don't think that that's the regular. Sometimes you're due for that. They were playing very, very well, and you're due for that, and it kind of centers you. You kind of get back on track. You don't like that to happen, but it's part of it. It just happens. Now you're going to bring this guy back. How in the world do you inject this toxic fireball, I guess, for lack of a better word, into your team environment, into your locker room, into your rotation? How do you do that? I'm sure Redick, I'm sure behind the scenes, they've met as a staff. They've met as an organization. What's the best way to handle this? How do we insert him back in as seamlessly, flawlessly as possible? I got news for everybody. There is no seamless and there is no flawless. Most have said this, and I happen to agree. The only possible chance of any success, and I'm telling you this as a former coach, not at that level. I'm just telling you from a chemistry standpoint, from a fluidity standpoint, a rotation standpoint, there's only one place that gives you a chance for success is him coming off the bench. That is the only. And I would submit to you, that's still bad. But starting versus the bench, it's better for the bench. Let Reeves do what he's doing, Doncic do what he's doing, Ayton do what he's doing, and the other guys. Do not mess with it, LA. Don't do it. He has almost nothing to offer. And you can hate me if you want. He's 14th on my top 15 all time. That was done 9 months ago. I think 8-9 months ago. And people wonder why. Why would I pick Jokic over LeBron James as the greatest of all time? Seriously? There's no question. Why would I put Stephen Curry above this guy all time? I don't think there's any question. Why would I put Larry Bird, Magic Johnson? There's a whole ton of, even Kevin Durant, I have ahead of him. LeBron James listen, guys and girls, if there are any watching, ladies, I believe that history will not be kind to LeBron James. There's a day of reckoning for him coming. And that reckoning is going to be that people will never, ever think about him like they did Michael, like they did Kobe, like they're going to do Jokic, like they're going to do Steph Curry. Jokic has changed the game. Michael and Kobe changed the game. Wilt Chamberlain changed the game. Steph Curry changed the game. Jokic changed the game. You know, Kevin Durant is, I mean, I wouldn't put Kevin Garnett in Kevin Durant's same type of height, same type of wingspan, but I wouldn't put Kevin Garnett in Kevin Durant's lane in terms of his total ability to change a game. Garnett better defensively, but Durant just like that release at any time can drop 30, 40, 50, whatever it takes. LeBron James, and I hate the word, the young kids say it, bag. He didn't have no bag. Explosive first step, strong, powerful, may come out one day that he was on steroids. I mean, just look at his body. And when the rule got changed and he came back like 25 pounds less, I mean, I'm not going to get into that, but he's just not there, folks. And now he's what, 40, just turned 41 or just about to turn 41. Either way, I don't think they want him. I truly don't even think he wants to be there. I think he's really upset underneath. I think he showed that when he first came. And then you watched him slowly change his demeanor and his attitude. And then you looked at his posting on X. It started to change. Why did it start to change? In my opinion, it started to change because he realized that they didn't need him. And he realized that they could do really well and exceed probably not only our expectations, but their own expectations. When I say their own, the team, the organization. Like, man, we really have something in Austin Reeves. I mean, I felt that all along. Maybe they did too, but now it was just totally proven out on the court. Oh, Luka lost all this weight. Ayton, I'm not a big fan of Ayton, but okay, he's filling his role. You got the young guy, Latavia, however you say it. You know, they got some things, and they're still light on talent. You know, Hachimura, they still have some holes. I don't think they win with LeBron or without LeBron. I know when I said that to Jason Whitlock, his eyes kind of lit up, and I think he appeared to be a little bit surprised. Yeah, I don't think that they win. There's other teams that can just roll out, you know, 2 full fives that is just better, bigger, better, deeper, and can overwhelm them. And here's another thing. If anybody's ever been a boxing fan, a fan of fighters, mostly boxing, but it happens in UFC too. Sometimes you just get old. Sometimes you get you get old overnight. You step into the ring and you got old. Everybody expected this type of level of performance, this. They know you're X age, like let's say you were a 33-year-old boxer, 34-year-old boxer, but you step in there and you just don't have it anymore. There is a very strong possibility that when he steps out on the court, exactly whenever that is, and he is in actual game simulation or no more simulation, actual game condition, game, level, the physicality, he might not have it. I already thought his game depreciated more than a car when you buy it off the lot. What does it lose? $8,000 the minute you take it off the lot? I think he was already depreciated. What's going to happen now? It has nothing to do with sciatica, guys. This guy did not have a sciatica injury of any type of degree that would, in my opinion, that would hold him out for. See that? I'm gonna put your guys' comments up on the screen. So have at it if you'd like. Agree with me, disagree with me, have a suggestion, feedback, question, whatever it is. I'll try to address them as we go. He might not have it, but even if he does, let's see here. See if I can make that a little bit larger. There we go. Even if he does, it's not enough. And it's not going to fit. How is he going to be second? How is he going to be third? I don't see it happening. To me, he doesn't really have anything to offer. I guess unless he came off the bench, but I still struggle to see that. And I'm sure he's talked to them. Don't you dare bring me off the bench. Can you imagine Michael Jordan off the bench? Can you imagine Kobe off the bench? How about Steph Curry? Can you imagine him off the bench? Unless it was because of an injury? I think any of those guys would retire before they come off the bench. I don't think ego-wise they can handle it. So the Lakers are in a very, very much of a catch-22 right now. They're kind of screwed if they do, and they're kind of screwed if they don't. He's there. He's $52 million. I don't even think the money is the biggest deal. If I'm Mark Walter, and personally I felt that he didn't make the trip. They said they wanted him to run with the G League. I want to call it the D League. The G League, and kind of just get fit, game conditioning. I still believe that there's conversations behind the scene. How do we let him go? How do we move him along? Where do we move him along? Who would take him? What conversations are we having? What do we do with his son? How do we handle that? What's the best way to handle this? I know. I think we all know they're better without him. It's and then all the attention, the spotlight, the media, social media, everything is going to turn to him. It's going to be all about him instead of what the team is doing and what they need to do now and in the future to have a chance to have a great season, which they are off to a very good start. I don't see how this benefits them. If I'm wrong, I'll own it. But I don't see a happy ending here for either side unless they move him. And I believe he'd be willing to forego some of that money before he comes off the bench, or if he senses in any way, shape, or form that he's got to stay coming off the bench, and he doesn't have enough juice anymore to argue with them to say, look, I still have it. Put me in, coach. Put me in. Like this might be what we're talking. Put me in, coach. Put me in, coach. Can you imagine him sitting there with the towel, jumping up out of his seat and rocking back and forth because he's on the bench while they're starting a game? Can you imagine that? And I don't think it's going to be like, hey, let's work him back slowly. It could happen, but I don't think he's even going to do well with that. All right, so we work me back slowly. It's 2 games. It's 3 games. All right, let's go. And introducing, and he doesn't get announced in the starting lineup. So I don't think he's gonna take it. I still think he's gonna end up in Cleveland. He's gonna announce his retirement in the offseason, and he's gonna do one more tour circuit. It's gonna be in Cleveland. He's not retiring as a Laker. He's not retiring as Miami Heat. He's gonna retire as Cavs. So why not go back to Dan Gilbert, who gave him a shot, who gave him a second shot, who I think would give him a third shot. And I think he would take his son on. It's his hometown. It's his family. It's all his friends. It's all everywhere what he's done in life. And Akron, Ohio is the core of it all. So we'll see. It'll be interesting to see how it plays out. All right. Before I get into the ESPN, just a quick thought here on my hometown Tigers, even though I live in Florida now. Tarek Skubal, Justin Verlander way up there. Max Scherzer, these guys have won multiple Cy Youngs. Justin, 2 no-hitters, phenomenal pitchers. Denny McLain, if you want to go way, way back. But Tarik Skubal is a left-handed horse, power arm, 28 years old. As I said, back-to-back Cy Young. I think it's rightfully so. I don't think there was any mistake in awarding him that in back-to-back years. And now he has the agent of agents, the agent of all agents, and Scott Boras, who doesn't accept anything less. He takes the highest level athletes that are in the most demand, and he knows how to drive up the price. He knows how to get those guys to the Mets, to the Yankees, to the Red Sox. And when they develop in small markets like Tampa Bay or a mid-sized market like Detroit, and some of the other markets, he gets them out of those markets and gets them to the big markets, like a Dodgers. Like, how can I not mention that name? The Dodgers. And he gets them where all the money's at. By all accounts, the Tigers and Boras, we'll say, Skubal's team, are probably $200 to $250 million apart. He's 28 years old. Boras is looking for a longer deal, obviously a boatload of money difference. The Ilitch family, Little Caesars, they're not hurting for money. But I don't think that that's really what the question is or what the challenge is. How many times have we seen it? We saw it with Albert Pujols. We saw it with Miguel Cabrera. You sign these guys to these long-term deals. Now, he's 28. If it's a 5-year deal, that puts him to 33. You look at guys like Verlander and Scherzer, they're still going. And Scherzer, Game 7 of the World Series. And now he claims he's got his thumb is all better and he wants to come back and pitch again. 42, I believe he is. There are rare cases. Nolan Ryan was 45. There are rare cases where that can happen. Tom Brady in football, very rare case. I was debating with my wife actually this morning because this topic came up as I was telling her about the show a little bit. And she debated with me and I was trying to convince her. I mean, she liked the guy, watched the guy and everything. I was like, hey, Tom Brady was actually a better quarterback at 40, 41 than he was when he was 31. She's like, no, there's no possible way. He couldn't move. I go, he never was moving. But he was supremely taking care of his body, putting nothing bad in his body. But this is what he relied on at the quarterback position. And he still had the arm strength, and the training he went through made sure that didn't leave him. But this improved. Never was a mobile guy. We're not talking about Lamar Jackson or Jaden Daniels or Jalen Hurts or somebody like this, or Bo Nix or Jackson Dart. He was a pocket guy. Move a little bit. That movement side to side and things like that he could do, but it was never that scramble out of the backfield. My point, there are rare cases where guys can pitch into their later years. You're going to give $400 million or so. Maybe it'll hit $500 million to Skubal. If I'm the Tigers, he's got one more year under their management. One more year. I put him on the market immediately, right now. Right now. Winter meetings, I believe, are going on right now. Start the bidding. What you got, Dodgers? What you got, Mets? What you got, Yankees, Red Sox, whoever else. And you just go for the biggest possible haul, and you reshape your team for years to come. Because in my opinion, Tarik Skubal, on the Tigers roster, they are not winning the World Series as constructed. If they had him, they're 2 arms away and they're 3 bats away. And I'm not sure that the Tigers' newer management, Greenberg and Harris, president of baseball operations, general manager, they did a bunch of has-beens at the deadline. And I don't think they don't want to spend the big money. It's closer to Moneyball than it is to like what the Mets and Yankees do. They're not just going to go out and spend carelessly. And to a degree, I understand that. You want to operate a profitable business because at the end of the day, it's a sports team, but it's still a business. And you want to spend it wisely. If you're going to spend it, you want to spend it wisely. Does the man have 2-3 more solid years? Yeah. Can you justify that money? Can you justify the risk that comes along with it and the length or the term of the deal? I would question that. If I was Chris Ilitch, who now runs everything, his father's passed on, his mother is, kind of behind the scenes, Marian Ilitch now, they can pay for it. Okay. They have lots and lots and lots of interests in casinos and the Red Wings and the Tigers and massive. I think Dan Gilbert owns over 100 buildings in downtown Detroit, and the Ilitches are kind of right there. They own big, they own everything. So it's not a money issue. It's how do we spend the money and how do we allocate said money? You want a 300 and whatever, 305, 310, 315, $315 million payroll. I don't think they're going to do it. I really don't think they're going to do it. So I would trade him highest bidder, get the bidding war going, use the Dodgers and the Yankees and the Mets and the Red Sox and maybe another team or two and angle it and leverage it against each other. And the Tigers have a very good farm system. Get them in get some of those guys in the farm system, get some now guys, continue to develop arms, and they'll be fine. I think that's the better move. They're not winning the World Series next year with him or without him. I think that's the reality of it. All right, guys, the story that doesn't go away, and I'm going to not just talk about the obvious that we have all been watching and listening to and how we've, if you're a YouTube subscriber, YouTube TV subscriber, and you've had ESPN taken out. And I'm curious, everybody who's on here, I would really like to know, because I really haven't looked into this. I know people are really upset with Disney. I mean, I put a reel out today and the first comment was F Disney. So people are really, really upset. I get it. ABC, ESPN, I totally get it. But what have you guys done? Like if you have YouTube TV, did you go get a free trial? Did you go get Hulu or Fubo, or you just waiting it out? What are you guys doing? I'd love to see some comments up there, and people could see them on the screen, and I'll read them out because I'm kind of curious. I'm holding right now. I ran the Fubo trial it was like a 5-day free trial. I ran that. It expired. I missed Monday Night Football last week. Luke, stream it illegally. I don't know how to do that. That's funny. Thank you for the laugh. I needed that. It was a long day. Anybody else? Did you guys go get a trial someplace else? Are you done with YouTube? Are you more upset with Disney than you are YouTube? Where do you sit? So here's my thoughts. So YouTube is a part of, same as Luke. Okay. YouTube's a huge part of my life because of what I do. I'm live. I will not incriminate myself. I am live right now on 3 platforms: Facebook, X, and YouTube. Tomorrow, probably sometime, I just catch the highlights on YouTube. So you're not watching ESPN in any way. 1224. Okay, Adam getting by on cable still. 1224. So you're not budging to any other streaming service to be able to see ESPN. No way. Okay. So you're just going to watch the 18, 20-minute short version then of whatever game or team it is. Interesting. And that's what I've done. And I'm not budging right now. So here's something I'm really, really bothered by. And I did some searching here. Over the last 5 years, Disney is down 23.5%. Listen to that. The last 5 years, Disney stock is down 23.5%. According to Morgan Stanley, they're losing approximately, it's been roughly 2 weeks. Interesting. Football is not football anymore, and neither is basketball. Go ahead and explain what you mean. I'd love to see what you say. Oh, that's why you don't watch. Okay. Interested if you expand upon that and why you believe football. I think I know why you think basketball isn't anymore, but why on football? So Morgan Stanley reports that ESPN is losing roughly 30 million, or no, it's YouTube. Man, why didn't I write that down? One of the two is losing 30 million per week. In the 2 weeks, 60 million lost. That's obviously 30 and 30. Who stands to lose more? In my opinion, it's ESPN. It's not close because people don't use ESPN for multiple things like I'm doing right now, like streaming a show live, then going to cut it up and then going to put shorts and mediums and long form videos, or maybe you want to watch a concert, a video, an influencer. YouTube is in the pole position here, in my opinion. It isn't ESPN. But here's the thing that I don't seem to understand. Can you be that clueless as an organization, a business, a network, whatever you want to call it, a media outlet? Can you be that clueless as to how upset your viewers or the public at large is over your product and how you offer it without this stuff going on? Before this dispute happened, people can't stand ESPN, folks. They can't stand it. I struggle to find anybody who likes anything having to do with ESPN outside of the games, because they have been basically the only guy on the block. And now they, did the deal with the NFL, and they've done a deal with UFC. They've done these number of deals, and they've kind of locked it up for a little bit longer. Here's another thing I can't understand. And having been a business owner, and I understand what people look for when they have a job these days, there's a number of things that people look for that is, in a lot of cases, more important than the money they make. And one of the things that people really want, along with flexibility, time off, work-life balance, they want culture. They want a culture they believe in. They want a culture that they feel comfortable in, that they are morally aligned with. So let me ask you a question. Stephen A. Smith is a clown. I think we all know this. He's obnoxious. He's hard to watch. He's in your face every single time. And then he took, like a month off. And the guy works hard. I'm going to say that. He does work hard. He puts a lot of time in what he does. And I guess he's deserving of the popularity in that he worked hard at it. Lots of different shows. You're doing NBA, you're doing NFL, you're doing all these different shows, First Take, I mean, it's like he doesn't stop. So from that standpoint, I'll give him credit. But he's annoying to watch. He's annoying to listen to. The whole political way they went, the woke nature that they went. So you mean, and I believe that there's some good people that work at ESPN. I'm not here to say that there aren't some good people behind the scenes that none of us know what their names are some good people, are well-intended, and maybe they just can't lose their job. I compare ESPN to the Miami Dolphins. Paid a lot of people they shouldn't have, and now they suffer. Interesting. No. Yeah. Yeah. There's more than just the Miami Dolphins. There's a lot of teams like that. I don't know. Pittsburgh Steelers, they went and got like everybody in the 33 years older. It's like the prerequisite is you must be 33 years or older, or you must Jair Alexander or Asante Samuel coming off a major shoulder surgery now. There's a lot of teams that do that. Wow, got something in my eye. So culture is supposed to be so important to so many people. So you mean to tell me that all of these people, and there are many, all of these people are okay at ESPN, and there's not any kind of mass walkout or mass strike, and they're okay with the way things are operating at ESPN, from the woke stuff to the Stephen A. Smith stuff to the solitaire, and then And then, like, is anybody awake over there? Seriously. You're in this dispute with YouTube. You got Ryan Clark that's got to apologize like once a month. They can't seem to get out of their own way with anything. You have a shady app in Solitaire for Cash, I think it's called. And you had a bunch of personalities get behind it, and then you got to pull from it. You got to pull that back. And it's just like it's almost a cesspool. It's like Whitlock said, they have to stay at ESPN so they can get their welfare check. You know, Sage Steele and Samantha Ponder, I said that I would mention this, and there are more than just them, that were basically forced out because of what their political beliefs were, and they were held back and basically zipped. And I give those ladies credit for moving on. You're right. None of those personalities besides Pat McAfee could make it on their own, and they need him right now. And they love having him, but they don't like the fact that they can't control him. I agree with Jason, with what Jason said the day that I think that I was supposed to be on the show. I agree with that. And I'm not a big fan of his, but you can't argue his success. And it seems to be kind of getting bigger. He can call his own shots, and no one's going to mess with him too much because he's bringing eyeballs to the network, and that's valuable. But Sage Steele and Samantha Ponder, I give them a lot of props for the courage that they showed. You mean to tell me, and Sage, I think it was Sage who said it? No, it was Samantha who said it. It was Samantha who said it when she was on Sage Steele's show. She said that there were multiple big names that kind of took her off to the side. And I am paraphrasing here. I'm not giving any direct quotes, but it was something to the effect of, they said, I actually agree with you, but I can't lose, my job. I can't lose my income. Now, she didn't mention names, but she mentioned that they were big names. I don't know. Is that an Adam Schefter kind of guy? Is that a Scott Van Pelt kind of guy? Those are some big names. I wonder why those people stay. Somebody that is as big as those guys, they're going to land on their feet, whether they do it independently or whether some other outlet or some other massive podcaster or somebody like a Pat McAfee, or they go into something together with a couple of people that maybe leave with them and can build something very quickly on their own, because people are dying to walk away from ESPN entirely. And I don't understand, like, the definition of insanity, textbook or dictionary definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. I don't understand how you can continue this woke stuff. You give Stephen A. Smith this platform, and you're financing him to be on your network, but you're also financing his ability to go political and eventually to run for president. That is what your sports network has come to. Now, I'll be honest with you guys. I wasn't planning on saying this. I'm very triggered by what's going on in our world right now in politics, and I may do something with that, because I believe I have a lot to share, and I believe I have some value to share, but I am damn sure not doing it on this show. You would tune in to watch this, and if you want to watch that, you can go someplace else and watch me doing that. That's potential something that I might do. But I'm not going to do that here, other than talk about it as in terms of the way that it's affecting sports. But I'm not going to give my opinion or decide I want to run for some political office and use a platform where people come because maybe they enjoy listening to me, or they enjoy my takes, or they enjoy my picks or my predictions, or they enjoy me on Whitlock, or whatever it is. I'm not going to take that away. Why would I do that? Were the numbers that bad that they had to go that route? They've been vulnerable for like 20 years, and nobody took advantage of it, which leads me into one of my final points. And I did about a 25-minute video the other day. So let me just paraphrase or summarize what that video is. I believe Amazon and Netflix are positioning right now for a full-blown takeover. Now, how could that happen when they just signed the deal with the NFL? I believe they've been testing market. I believe, Amazon Prime's been for several years now on Thursday Night Football. Netflix, they delved into it, Mike Tyson, Jake Paul, and then the Christmas game last year, I think it was the Chiefs. And now again, I believe this year, again, I don't know who's on, but I believe it's on. It's going on without a hitch. Everybody has Netflix. Most people, probably, I got to look at that number. I'm going to look that up. What percentage of households have Netflix? You can get your movies. You can get your series. You can get your concerts. You can get all that. And you can get different sports and UFC, right, to a degree. And you're going to get your football. How about Amazon? I got to look and see what the Amazon Prime subscriber percentage is. How many people have Amazon Prime? I have to look that up. And so what do you get? What do you get with Amazon Prime? You got your shopping. You're already paying for Amazon Prime, and you're getting your stuff the next day, and maybe at a better price in some circumstances. You're getting Prime Video. You're getting all sorts of different things. I have Amazon because I'm always shopping there. Yeah. And one of the good, cool things about it is my wife and I have Amazon Prime. I never had to say, go buy Amazon Prime to watch Thursday Night Football because I already have it. And that was just one more thing. Did they raise the price over the last few years? Yep, they did. I can't say it's not worth it. Netflix, they've raised the price over the last few years. I can't say it's not worth it. It's very worth it. Is ESPN worth it? What exactly are they offering outside of the games? Zero. You could get Ian Rappaport. You can get Albert Breer. You could get all sorts of Jay Glazer. You can get all sorts of guys. You don't have to have Adam Schefter. He's got 11 million followers. Okay, great. Doesn't have to be him. There are others. There are others. ESPN is no longer the only guy on the block. And what I mean by that is, yes, they still have the majority of the contracts. Yes, they just signed a large contract, but there are other players in the space now, and those players have the same deep pockets as Iger and Disney do. And they have more to offer the consumer. And it's just a natural extension of it. Let's wrap it in. We already have this amazing client base and a mass percentage of households. Without looking at the number, I would guess 7 out of 10 homes have Netflix, and I would guess 6 out of 10 have Amazon Prime. And you put football in that package, you're going to get more. And then those people are going to be like, how do I justify spending this money? Here we go again with another subscription. But how do I justify that? Oh, honey, you're doing your shopping there already? Oh, okay, this makes sense for Amazon Prime. Oh, Netflix? I believe they're both positioning themselves. And I think it's 24 to 36 months. Can they buy them out of the contract? I'm not sure about that legally. Would the NFL listen? I think so. Why wouldn't they listen? The actual viewing, the quality of the viewing is better. Not the studio, and who's announcing and all of that. I'm not saying that. The actual quality of the picture is better on Prime and on Netflix. So you're already ahead there. And I think they will continue to trend that way, and they will stay ahead. ESPN is in trouble, folks. And I think that there is now a day, it's not if, it's when. I think there is a day when we will see that there will be no more ESPN. And I did this reel, and I think it's over 2,000 now, but it had like 1,000 views almost immediately this morning. It's a 59-second cut. I agree with you, Luke. Amazon already has the best production, in my opinion. I put this up about what I believe is basically a takeover. It's a coup, basically. And like I say, the first person's comment was F Disney. And it's like, it just, sometimes when I say things, I think about what I'm going to say. Sometimes I say it off the cuff because I like to be a little bit different that way. But it's like I watched it over and I'm like, so how would the consumer, anybody who's seeing my reel, how would you think about this if you were not you and you weren't the person that say that, but you were watching somebody else say this? What would you think of it? And I'm thinking to myself, as I'm looking at it as a prospective viewer, it makes all the sense in the world. And they can sell it differently. They can actually make more money for the league than ESPN. ESPN has nothing to offer. Amazon and Netflix have everything to offer. They have all the extras, like the fixins, right? Like you have a turkey, but people love everything that goes with the turkey. Whether it's pumpkin pie or stuffing or gravy or whatever, mashed potatoes, what bread, salad, whatever it is, it's a buffet. It's a Netflix, it's an Amazon buffet. And one of your entrees or one of your 4 meats or 6 meats or 3 meats, whatever it is football. And football in the United States is king. What would that do to the viewership of Netflix and Amazon more than just the Thursday night game for Amazon? More than, and that actually might go away, by the way. There's a lot of pressure to get gone the Thursday night football because of the quality of the game, the short week. It really is. It is a lesser quality game. Once in a while, you'll get one in there that surprises. A lot of the matchups are bad. It's just like, I don't know why it always works out that way. I know why the short turnaround works out that way, but sometimes it's like when you make the schedule, you think these two teams are going to be pretty good and hey, we're going to have top viewership. And then, it's like the Raiders are 2 and whatever and somebody else is good and it's a mismatch. What did we have last night? There you go. Last night was it 27-13 and the point spread was 13 or 27-14 and the point spread was 13. It's New England and the Jets. I mean, I didn't look at the ratings, but I can't imagine that they were that good. You definitely don't get quality games the majority of the time. And if that Thursday night game goes away, you think Amazon's going to go down without a fight? Like in terms of, hey, we're not going to lose the NFL. We have to be in this game. We have to be in this space. And then you start talking to the league and you start saying, here's what we could do for you. And hey, we'd like to see if we could buy out the deal and we'll pay all the penalties. It wouldn't shock me. It would not shock me. This whole thing with Ryan Clark and with Stephen A. Smith and the woke stuff and now what they've done, this just feels to me, and I could be wrong, this feels like the death blow. You shouldn't do it with any sport. You don't F with football. That's like sacred in the United States. Football in other countries, soccer to us, that's like at the top of their priorities. And in our country, football is at the top of our priorities. Every single Sunday of my life, sorry, honey, wherever you are, it revolves around football, especially with what I do now. Yes, I can go watch it on YouTube and watch short clips, but just because to be informed, I need to kind of see it in real time. And it's constantly changing. It's constantly evolving. What year will the Super Bowl be on Amazon Prime? That's a great question. I think it's probably for sure inside of 6-7 years. And it'd be interesting to see if they, I don't know if I'm sure there's exclusivity that's signed on that. I've done a lot of things in my past business with exclusivity. I understand how important that is. And, NBC or CBS or Fox has exclusivity on those alternate years. Be awful amazing if Amazon Prime or even Netflix for that matter steps up and says, hey, starting in 5 years, we want to be able to bid on this, or actually we want to bid on this now. We want a piece. And then it gets shown on 2 networks. Again, the NFL is going to have a hard time saying no to those 2. There is nobody else. This is not a Fox Sports thing. This is not it's within there. 2023, he said, or 2033, he says, I would say within there. It's got to be within there. I don't think we're that far off for something like that. In fact, I think we're 24 to 36 months before we see something holy type change. So holy as in WH, holy. So it's probably far less than 2033. I can't see why the NFL would wait. Like, why would you wait? The things they can do with Prime Day and Prime deals, there's so much, cross-selling that they can do. But it really just, I want to go back to this point here real quick. I wonder how, and I like Dan Orlovsky. Dan Orlovsky spent his career, or most of it, as the Lions backup, was drafted by the Lions. I like Dan. But I wonder how a guy like Dan Orlovsky sits down next to Ryan Clark. Sometimes we're around coworkers maybe that we don't like, maybe that we could do without, but we just grin and bear it. Ryan Clark is, man, let me just say, he's a divider of people. He's not a multiplier. He's a troublemaker. He's a shit starter. I don't even know if I would say he's a good person. I don't know if I say he's a bad person, but I'm not sure he's a good person. This man creates so much drama and so much negativity and so much toxicity. This guy flies off the handle and says anything about anything and has hurt so many large percentages of people, like entire walks of life, entire races. Now, whether it's what Jason does or to a way lesser degree what I do, there's some things we're going to say that people don't agree with. That's fine. And Jason does his things from a biblical principles. I do my things kind of like from a business perspective and why teams and organizations do what they do. The predictive analysis that I give, the former coach's lens that I give, regardless of level, I was very successful at it. When you do it over and over and you have success at multiple stops, there's generally a reason why you didn't just get lucky. So I had a deep understanding of it. And so I try to pass that along. But I just wonder how those guys sit next to some of the people they're surrounded with over there and how they're okay with that. And how that is okay on their conscience. I don't quite understand that. And I've seen it. It's happened in companies of mine. I've made decisions. I'll give you a quick example. I made decisions to fly a certain part of the staff to Florida and didn't fly more newer people, lesser tenured people, lesser titled people, non-management people. And there was this big to-do. How could you do that to us? Well, those people been years. And there was reasons that they needed to come to Florida and as management. And when you get to that level or close, you're going to be considered for that, but not yet. This was this big culture thing, and I did them wrong in some kind of way. You mean to tell me that what happened to Sage Steele, what happened to Samantha Ponder, what's happened with YouTube, what's happened with Ryan Clark, what's happened with Stephen A. Smith, Disney as a whole and the whole woke ideology is 100% of Bristol? And everyone who has to do with ESPN, they share that ideology? Like, why are they still staying? And in what world, like what job? I don't care if you work at Burger King. I don't care if you work at a restaurant as a waiter, a waitress, a bartender. You work for a technology company. You work for a media company. You work, I don't know, driving a high-low. In what world could you go piss everybody off and continue to keep your job? Embarrass your company, embarrass your coworkers, embarrass the brand, everything, and still keep your job. Do you know what that tells me? They like it. They've probably instructed him to do it. Oh yeah, let's go out and let's make this formal apology. again. Let's make it sound contrite. Let's make it sound believable, and they'll forget about it. I got news for you. I can't find anybody that likes Ryan Clark either. And I'm telling you, I am all over social media. I am watching all sorts of different. I'm looking at the white opinion, the black opinion. I'm looking at female opinion, male opinion, the hardcore sports fan, the medium, the average person that's not really into sports. I can't find it anywhere. I used to love Ryan Clark in the very beginning. I loved his breakdown. I loved his analogy. As I liked Stephen Smith when he came from the Philly Inquirer and he was a spot guy on ESPN. I was like, this is kind of fresh. This is different. This is some energy to it. This is me in my really heavy basketball days. I'm like, I like this. And then sometimes too much of any one thing is it's not good. And more and more and more and more and more. Like what? Everybody sits down in a room. Upper management sits down in a room and says, Stephen A. Smith is our golden boy? Really? You know who's a golden boy? I don't know. Jim Nantz. And this has nothing to do with color. I don't give a damn about color. Excuse my language. Jim Nantz, Mike Tirico, these guys are versatile and can do it all. Those are the people you invest in. They're likable. People want to tune in and watch. Their articulation of the moment or of the sport or of what is going on in the sport at a certain time, the way that they tell it. Stephen A. Smith, the way he tells it, how's that work? People love Charles Barkley, and I do too, because he's a tell it like it is guy. Doesn't care what you think. He doesn't care if it's a famous athlete that might say, Chuck, what are you doing? Why are you saying this? He doesn't care. He says it. And now Kendrick Perkins, and I said this to on Jason's show, I believe Kendrick Perkins is more the modern day Charles Barkley. Charles Barkley says 2 years max, and he's already into the first year. 2 years max, he's done no matter what they pay him. I'll believe that when I see it. It's going to be hard for him to walk away and be quiet without a platform unless he goes and does his own or goes and, goes on somebody else's show very regularly. I can't see him. I think he's got to have his opinion out there. Kendrick Perkins taking over, and Kendrick is a lot harder to understand and follow. But again, he doesn't really care who it is. He's going to give it to you real. I appreciate that. Stephen A. Smith is not that. He's just not. I like watching guys like Tim Brando. These guys are phenomenal at what they do. Tom Brady has become extraordinary at what he does. Kevin Burkhardt, very, very good. Same last name as mine, no relation. Greg Olson, I think he's the best in the business. He's ahead of Brady, he's ahead of Romo, and he's ahead of Aikman. That's my opinion. He's terrific. And man, did he get demoted from first to second because of Brady. But the point is I don't know why people continue to stay there, and there's not some sort of revolt that there are at smaller companies. There's a day of reckoning that's coming. It comes all the time. It doesn't matter what it has to politically, religiously, in an instance like this, with a team and a franchise, you're just getting by. You're making mistakes, but you keep winning. But eventually, it catches up. And I think we are witnessing it catching up. And then ESPN and Iger comes out and says, basically, we're dug in. We're dug in. We'll go as long as they want to go. Oh my God. How out of touch can you be? The whole world dislikes you right now. The sports world dislikes you at an all-time high. I don't know what the popularity or the favorability is of like in the political context, what the favorability or popularity of ESPN is right now. It's got to be like in the teens. And the only reason people need you is because you have the games. Yeah, you're going to have a little faction that wants to watch Adam Schefter and whatever the show is in the morning with Rex Ryan and Greenberg and whoever else is on that, Orlovsky, whoever else is on. Maybe. I don't see it. I really don't see it. So they're in trouble and they will be going away. It's not if, it's when. All right, let's get into the pick segment, and we'll let everybody go here. So and I'm not a fan of these games either. The overseas games, and they typically don't end up being very solid either for very obvious reasons. And this is not a very fun matchup for Sunday morning at 9:30. But we'll take not so good football versus no football at all, right? 9:30 in the morning with football is better than 9:30 in the morning without football, as far as I'm concerned. Commanders at the Dolphins, but it's really not. Dolphins -2.5, and the Dolphins win this game outright, probably between 7 and 10. So the Dolphins handle business there. Commanders are in trouble without Jaden Daniels, and it's just Deebo Samuel. Anybody watch him lately? How overweight he is. He wants to be a number one. Talking about Luka Doncic from the kind of the opening segment. I don't understand how he gets away with that and how they allow that, but he is. You're a professional athlete. Get yourself in shape, buddy. The Bears and the Vikings. This is a tough one. I'm a big J.J. McCarthy guy. I still have faith in him. Everybody's jumping ship. It's way too early, guys. He is a player, and he's figuring some things out. I think he's going to be fine. They're at home. I would look for Justin Jefferson to get much more involved here. You see that line at -2.5 and -115. It's an indicator it's close to 3. And more of the actions on the Vikings. I like the Vikings in that game to win by a field goal or better. This next one is interesting. Green Bay and the Giants. Jameis Winston gets the start over Russell Wilson, and forever, I said it last week during the game, in what world is this like before the game was over? Why is Brian Daboll, is it like the commitment to Russell Wilson because of the legendary status, probably going to the Hall of Fame, and you feel obligated to play him? I can't see what world Russell Wilson is better than Jameis Winston at this point in time. I can't see it. Now, Jameis is so laid back, has changed his life and turned it over to God. It's very, very public about that. And I think he's so easygoing that there's no pressure there, and he'll just support whoever it is. But he's getting the start. And I think that's smart. Their season's over. They're not like they're going to do anything, but you still need to put yourself forward. And I think he's going to inject that team. I really do. He's not going to like be a world beater or anything, but he won't hesitate to fling it, which has gotten him in trouble, but it also made him, to a degree, a star status at a time or two and a number 1 draft pick. So Packers not playing well. I talked about this in a video earlier this week. I'm a huge Matt LaFleur guy, and I love just the offense in Green Bay is working better there after he let him go a little bit. Let the dude play the game. But I got the Giants +7.5. I can't see the Green Bay Packers covering more than a touchdown against anybody right now. Carolina and the Falcons. Carolina came back down to earth last week. Falcons at home are a different team than on the road. People got a lot to say about Michael Penix. I have also said Michael Penix. I said it in May or June. Michael Penix is going to be a superstar. By the way, he was talked about on Whitlock's show. There's one thing I want to point out about Michael Penix that maybe a lot of people don't know, but I happen to know this because I've followed him. And usually when I put my name to something and I start talking about somebody's going to be a superstar stuff, I really delve into them. Michael Penix is basically an admitted hermit. He does not like to leave his home. He doesn't like to go out. He doesn't like to do anything. And he says if he has his option, if his druthers, so to say, he would rather stay home and do nothing. So he's a really introverted guy. He's a really quiet guy. And I think he's got to come out of that shell a little bit to be a quarterback leader. I think the question, which Raheem Morris I saw came out today really upset about the clips going on about Penix out there. It kind of just went viral. I don't even think that he understood the question. He basically asked for clarity on the question. It was phrased again, but I truly don't think he fully understood the question. and I wanted to say this. I was on hold to come up to speak on Whitlock when my time came. The microphone went dead, and I think I finally talked with Luke, and I think we finally got this figured out. But I was going to say that I don't think he understood the question, and the reporter asked him, who do you talk to? Do you talk to any former quarterbacks? Which led me to believe she was asking about non-football related people. When former quarterback, and then she says coaches. Did she mean current coaches? The context of what she was saying is what I was going to highlight on the show. I'm not sure she meant, your Atlanta Falcon teammates and your Atlanta Falcon coaches. I'm not positive on that. But the way I interpreted it was more for like on the field related stuff. But former coaches, have you consulted with former coaches? Did she mean his former coaches? So I don't think he fully understood it. But he's a real introverted guy. I think he's going to be fine. And I think that they beat Carolina by 4 or more this Sunday at home. Look for Bijan Robinson to step it up in a big way. Let me take the ticker off of there. See, now this one is really interesting to me. The Chargers and Jaguars, and I know Ladd McConkey might not play. Oronde Gadsden the second is questionable. They can win without Ladd McConkey. And Jacksonville is so non-trustworthy, even though you're going from the West Coast to Florida playing in Jacksonville. You're -3. Okay, I got it. I'm not touching Jacksonville +3, even though they're at home. I take the Chargers all day, -3 there. Justin Herbert, I've called him a Hall of Famer. I did that in 2024. 2 days before the NFL 24 NFL draft, I said he's a Hall of Famer right now. The video's up there, and he'll overcome whatever he has to there. All right. Bengals and Steelers. Isn't this interesting? So Mike Tomlin, and his team is coming down to earth, and they're fraudulent, and it's time for Mike to really think about stepping down and moving on. It really is. The game has passed him by, or it's at least caught up. He's been a great coach. I think he's a good man. I think he's really run. He's really run things well there for such a long time, but I just think it's tired. I think it's old, just like the team. 18th year there. And I know a lot about the senior business because I just came out of it for 10 years. I owned a senior citizen moving company where we moved seniors out of their longtime regular homes where they built their lives and raised families, and then moved their items into senior living communities. Not them, the person, but their things as they sold their home and downsized. We were involved in all that process. So when I see the Steelers, or I think of the Steelers, I think of the seniors that I used to serve. It's crazy how old they are, how slow they are, and it's not going to work. If you wanted to go 10 wins or 9 wins, you're doing that every year anyways. What's the difference this year? And so now he gets to play against the Bengals, and the Browns traded Flacco to the Bengals, and he's got to contend with Chase and Higgins and Chase Brown and Flacco. And I'm taking Cincinnati +5.5 because I don't think the Steelers are that good. The Bengals aren't that good, but I'll take the 5.5 there. One of the next games here, and there's 4 of them. There's 4 what I would consider really great games. This is one of them, man. You got 2 teams. I love it when you got 2 teams that both need to win. Like neither one of their seasons are over if they lose, but this is so intriguing here. And Buffalo it's like I don't know what you would say. It's sad because Josh Allen is one of the greatest quarterbacks that I've ever witnessed in my life. And they have not gotten him a full complement of weapons around him. James Cook is a really nice running back. He's got Kincaid at tight end, which I think he's down this week. So they'll go back to Dawson Knox. He's got Shakir. Was okay. Keon Coleman hasn't really done anything yet, and he's just kind of got to get by again on sheer will and all that. I'm taking Tampa +5.5 on the road at the Bills. I think that's a 3-point game. The Houston Texans and a very good defense playing the rookie Cam Ward and the Tennessee Titans. Houston, you could pretty much say that is their season over? I don't know if their season's over, but if there is any chance for it to keep it going, they have to win this game. I'm going to take Houston minus the 5.5 over Tennessee. You could see the minus 115 there at 5.5. It's probably going to 6.5. So you might want to look at it before it does. Seahawks and Rams. Woo, this is a Donnybrook. I mean, you got two teams that are playing otherworldly. Jackson Smith and Jigba. Did anybody expect him to be this good? I mean, Ohio State is becoming like wide receiver university. All right. It's like so many, one after another after another. I mean, Garrett Wilson is one of the few guys that has not lit it up, and there's more coming behind this group or with this upcoming group. Such an interesting game. Two quarterbacks playing the best of their careers. I think Stafford, and I'm a Detroit guy, he spent however many years in Detroit. It's hard to say that he's ever played better than he is right now. And I don't think Sam Darnold, who I'll have to give him credit, my co-host Luke was all about Darnold in the beginning of the year. He says, that's my guy. He's going to be even better. He was right. Luke, props to you if you're listening, buddy. The other Luke. On Darnold, he's been terrific, outstanding, whatever you want to say. But they are due. And I think it's coming this week. I'm taking the Rams -3 at home. And you see there 120. That tells you, and these lines are right from before the show, about 6:30. From FanDuel, I pulled these. That may go to 3 and a hook. So I got the Rams -3 over the Seahawks. Should be a heck of a game back and forth. 49ers and Cardinals. Cardinals have nothing to play for. Jacoby Brissett will be back, still behind the center. 49ers have to win this game. It is on the road. I'm indifferent on the 49ers. I don't really believe in them. Kind of up and down, but they should handle their business in this game, even though it's on the road. Give me the 49ers -3. In the last few games here, another Donnybrook. Colin Cowherd done lost his mind about Bo Nix. This is going to be fun to watch. And it's like, let's see, what do we got? We have, Seattle at 4:06. Crazy. 4:06. Okay. Game is starting at 4:06, not 4:05. You got Seattle and the Rams at 4:06, and you got the Chiefs and the Broncos at 4:26. Like, which game do you watch? Put it on split screen, right? Man, I love both these teams. I got the Lions and the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. The Chiefs are in a must-win situation. Broncos have won, 7 in a row? They're 8-2, 6 or 7 in a row. Bo Nix is not playing as well as he should be, as well as he can. I think they'll get that figured out. I'm going to go with the Chiefs here. I don't like that hook, that 3.5, but I'm going to take Kansas City -3.5 on the road against the Broncos. The Chiefs are loaded, folks, and they still haven't put it all together, but I would expect to start to see that really mold and take shape this Sunday with the big three wide receivers, Rashee Rice, Xavier Worthy, Travis Kelce, Hollywood Brown. Don't forget about Brashard Smith in the backfield. He's an up-and-comer. Of course, you have Mahomes. You have a solid defense. Give me the Chiefs -3.5 against the Broncos. Ravens and the Browns. Brownie fans. Roberto, if you're watching, any of the guys from Ohio, probably going to take another L here. I'm not a big Ravens guy. I'm not a Lamar Jackson guy. The Ravens should win by 10 or more. Ravens -7.5 on the road. Sorry, guys. All right, the big one here, as I said earlier, anticlimactic as I gave away what I thought. Lions 38, Eagles 28. Lions are going to impose their will very quickly, get out ahead of Philly, and Philly's not the type of team that wants to play from behind. They're just not structured that way. And again, Dan Campbell taking over the play calling duties last week had a lot to do with this week. And so I would fully expect the Lions to come out victorious and be tied up with Philly at 7-3 come Sunday about 11:15. So Lions going to win this week. Monday night, Cowboys at the Raiders. Raiders obviously have trouble, and I'll just leave you guys with this. The biggest trouble in Vegas right now for the Raiders is Chip Kelly. A lot of people won't agree with me on that, but Chip Kelly is the biggest problem for the Raiders right now. They're devoid of talent. That's part of it. But Chip Kelly has never really been successful as a play caller in the NFL, with the exception of his first year in Philadelphia. At the college level, I think he's more suited for that. At the pro level, not so much. And Geno Smith is not as bad as what you've seen. The Raiders, as an offense, are not as bad. They have regressed under Chip Kelly. And I think it's only a matter of time, maybe through the end of the year, but they're not, unless something changes dramatically, even with this talent or less than talent, I don't think he's back next year. I think he's one of the biggest problems they have. Cowboys going to roll in Vegas, must win. Jerry Jones thinks he's still going to the Super Bowl, delusional Jerry. But they'll pull it together this game and take care of the Raiders by 4 or more. Even though you can see the public's money is on the Raiders at +3 in the hook, -115 to win 100. That tells you what you need to know there. So that's all the NFL picks. Everybody, thank you for joining, man. We've gone full 2 hours here. I was thinking I was going to keep it at 90 minutes, but we've went past. Appreciate all you guys joining. Thank you for your support. For those of you that are watching that are not regular followers, please follow us on X at PB Sports Talks with an S on the end, and on YouTube. We got to get that subscriber number up. I will be having a lot of reels go up. And quick point here, because there's not really many up. My documentary, my life documentary that was done on video in June or July of 2023. I'm going to cut up those clips this week, and I'm going to get a lot of that out there so you guys can learn a lot about my history, a lot about how I arrived in this spot, when I was in a coma in 2016, my life around coaching and what that was like, my history and different career paths that I took, my business, a very successful business that I had until the final 2 years, most recently, how I met my wife or how I met my wife again. It's a lot of cool stuff, and I'll get that all up there. How I went on a ventilator, or why I went on a ventilator, when I came to and I had the ventilator in me, what I was thinking, what I was saying, how my life changed forever, how since that day, since I went under, my predictive analysis or predictive ability, I was always creative. I always had gut instinct and stuff. I could always have a really good feel on things, but something happened. And they say it all the time. A lot of times when you go under like that and you come to within an inch of your life, literally, I'm technically not even supposed to be here. Something changes in your mind and the way you see things. I'll explain that. So keep an eye out on that. On YouTube at PB Sports Talk. Smash the subscribe button. Hit the notifier. More and more things will be going up there. And guys, if you can, please share with family, with friends, coworkers. Give them the link. Send it over. Share it. Really appreciate it. We're really looking to take the next step. And hopefully Luke is back next week. If not next week, he'll be back the following week. We got a lot of catch up to do. And I look forward to that. So everyone have an awesome, awesome weekend, an outstanding Saturday and Sunday. Enjoy the football. And like I say every single week, never forget this. And I learned it in 2016 because my life was always taken away, almost taken away. Thank you, Adam. Hug someone, hold someone, love someone. Life is short. Take care of everybody. Bye-bye now.